The subway platform smelled of rain and steel when Maestro Damien Voss stepped off the 6th train, already late, already irritated, and heard something that made him stop walking entirely. A violin, playing Bach's Chaconne with a precision he had not heard live in over a decade, coming from a woman in a worn coat standing beside an open case scattered with a handful of crumpled bills. Damien was 52. The celebrated music director of the city's premier symphony orchestra, a man whose name on a program guaranteed a sold-out hall, and whose opinion of a musician could end or elevate a career in a single sentence. He did not stop for street performers. He had built his entire professional identity around the idea that real music happened in concert halls, under lighting designed for reverence, not in subway stations that smelled of rain and steel. But he stood there for nearly 2 full minutes anyway, unable to make his feet move, because what he was hearing was not busking. It was mastery delivered without an audience, without applause, without any apparent need for either. "You're rushing the 16th notes in the second variation," he said finally, because criticism was the only language he trusted himself to speak in, slightly. "Most people wouldn't catch it." The woman lowered her bow and looked at him with an expression that held no surprise at being recognized, which surprised him more than anything else about the encounter. "Most people don't listen closely enough to catch it," she said. "You clearly do. Where did you train?" "A long time ago. Somewhere that doesn't matter anymore." She began packing her violin into its case, unhurried, entirely unbothered by his stature or his scrutiny, and Damien found himself, uncharacteristically, without a follow-up question sharp enough to hold her there. He left her a compliment instead of a question, an unusual softness for a man not known for either, and walked on toward rehearsal, already half convinced he had imagined the whole encounter. Before we continue, if you believe that talent has no address and grace wears no stage, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales, and share this with someone who needs to believe in people again today. 4 hours later, everything about Damien's evening collapsed. Isabel Cortez, the internationally celebrated violinist, scheduled to headline that night's televised benefit concert. 3 hours from curtain, a live broadcast reaching an audience of nearly 2 million, tickets and donations already committed to the city's children's hospital, was rushed to the emergency room after a car collision 2 blocks from the concert hall. She would survive. She would not be playing Sibelius that night, or any night soon. The orchestra's board went into controlled panic. Every soloist of comparable caliber was either performing elsewhere or unreachable on 3 hours' notice. Damien stood backstage listening to his general manager list increasingly desperate options, and it was his assistant conductor, a younger man named Felix, who moonlighted riding the subway to save on parking, who said the thing that changed the entire trajectory of the evening. "There's a woman who plays at the Fulton Street station most mornings," Felix said. "I've heard her for 2 years. She's better than half the soloists we've ever booked." "I don't know her name." Damien knew exactly who Felix meant, and something in his chest tightened at the memory of the 16th notes he'd corrected 4 hours earlier. At a mastery he had complimented and then simply walked past. The way he had walked past 100 other things in his life that hadn't come wrapped in a concert hall's credibility. He found her still at the station, packing up for the evening rush, and he did something he had not done in 30 years of conducting. He asked, rather than told. "I need a favor that is going to sound insane," Damien said. "Our soloist is in the hospital. We have a televised benefit in under 3 hours, an orchestra that has rehearsed the Sibelius concerto for 6 weeks. And I am standing in a subway station asking a stranger to save it." The woman's face went pale in a way that had nothing to do with surprise at the request and everything to do with something older, something Damien didn't yet understand. "I can't," she said immediately. "I don't perform. Not like that. Not anymore. Why not?" She was quiet for a long moment, her hand resting on the closed lid of her violin case. "My name is Elena Marsh. 10 years ago, I was 2 months from my debut with the Chicago Symphony. I had trained since I was 6 years old for exactly that stage. During the final rehearsal in front of the full orchestra, I froze completely. Not nerves, something closer to a wall coming down between my hands and my mind. I couldn't play 8 bars without my hands shaking so badly the bow wouldn't hold still. It happened again at the actual debut. I walked off stage in the second movement and never walked back onto one again. I play in this station because trains don't wait for you to be perfect, and neither do the people rushing past. Nobody here is watching closely enough to make me afraid. Damien, a man who had spent his career believing that talent alone determined who deserved a stage, understood in that moment that he had never once considered what a stage might have already taken from someone before he asked them to stand on it again. "I'm not going to pretend that isn't real," he said. "I'm not going to tell you it will simply be fine. But I will stand 2 feet from you the entire time, and if you need to stop, we stop. And I will explain to 2 million people that the finest violinist I have heard in a decade needed a moment. And that will be the truth, and nobody in that hall will think less of you for it. I am asking you to trust me with something you clearly don't trust easily. I understand if the answer is no." Elena looked at him for a long time, the platform emptying around them as the evening crowd thinned, and something in his voice, not command, not persuasion, just plain unvarnished honesty from a man not known for offering it, moved something loose in her that had been locked for 10 years. "I'll need my mother's music stand," she said finally. "The wooden one. It's the only one I've ever been able to play from without shaking. It's in my apartment 4 blocks from here." They made it to the hall with 40 minutes to spare. Damien stood in the wings during the entire performance, exactly as promised, close enough that Elena could see him without turning her head. And when her bow trembled almost imperceptibly during the opening bars, he simply nodded once, calm and unhurried, the way a person nods at someone climbing back onto ground they'd once fallen from. She did not stop. She did not need to. By the second movement, the shaking had gone entirely, replaced by something the 2 million viewers watching from home would later describe, across dozens of reviews, as the most emotionally transparent performance of the Sibelius Concerto any of them had ever witnessed, because it was, in every sense, true. The applause afterward lasted 11 minutes. Elena stood at center stage, violin lowered. Tears she made no attempt to hide. And Damien walked out from the wings to stand beside her, not to share the moment, but to make certain everyone watching understood exactly whose moment it actually was. 10 years ago, a wall came down between this woman's hands and her mind. On a stage not unlike this one, Damien told the audience, his voice carrying none of the polish he usually reserved for donor speeches. Tonight she walked through it. I did nothing but ask. She did everything else. Elena did not return to the concert stage full-time. Some walls, once built, are respected rather than demolished all at once. But she began, slowly over the following year, accepting select performances, always with the same wooden music stand, always with Damien somewhere in view from the wings if she asked. She kept playing at Fulton Street most mornings, not because she needed to anymore, but because that platform had held her through 10 years nobody applauded, and she had learned that some stages deserve loyalty precisely because they never demanded anything back. If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Kindness Tales for more stories of courage, grace, and the small human moments that change everything. And tell us in the comments, has fear ever kept you from a stage you were always meant to stand on?